Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lumière Learning Monday. We are on season 5, episode 9, and my guest today, R.Sridhar, he and I go back 25 years. So this is our silver jubilee event. Congratulations, Sridhar. We couldn't have
Thanks
chosen.
Leena Menon.
Leena Menon, yes.
That's right. We met in HLL first.
We met in HLL. We met in Leena's office. Leena was the one who got us to catch up for flow. And here we are. I have been privileged. Sridhar, you came here for the Lumière birthday as well.
Right.
We've done several workshops and conversations together.
Correct.
I associate Sridhar with creativity. For me, one word association with Sridhar, creativity. Second word, Ogilvy.
Yes.
Third word, direct marketing.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Fourth, coaching and prashna, asking questions.
Right. Absolutely. Prashna Rao.
Prashna Rao. So we are going to just go in. Sridhar wants to talk about a book that inspired him, Todd Henry, called Die Empty.
Yes.
You have brought in the secular and the spiritual aspects of your life and had them lead you and guide you all along your life, right?
Yeah.
You are now in your 75th year.
I've crossed 75.
Yes. So for him, the Vanaprasthashram is done. He's now entering Sannyas Ashram.
Yeah.
Spending time in the United States mostly, but he's down in our office today, which is why you're seeing both of us on the same screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been a mentor, he's been a friend, and someone who never shies from making connections.
Absolutely.
He gives his voice to so many facets that inspire him. And here we are.
Sridhar, I'm so delighted. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity.
Yes. And, we are this, folks, all of you who are listening today and who will watch this video later, you're going to be, there's a echo at the back, a reverb that we need to stop. So, just cut that.
Yeah.
So, Sridhar, tell me about how you're feeling about, this time in Bombay where you're packing up everything. You've got so many gifts you've given the world.
Yeah.
So many gifts. You continue to inspire. You have friends. You have well-wishers. It's a life well lived that a lot of people would give an arm and a leg for, right? So what are some of the big influences that have shaped you and given you, what's been your greatest gift?
Yeah. To start with my parents, I would say. My mother, my dad, two very big influences. My guru.
Yes.
And then Mani Iyer, my boss, Ranjan Kapoor, and many of my colleagues and friends like you. Now, the best thing about influence and then getting influenced is not about the other person. Is about the willingness for me to receive. See, if I am staying in a fantastic neighborhood and I got my windows closed, I will not get any air.
Correct.
I have to open the windows of my mind. All right? Now, if I open the windows and the fresh air comes and then I go and wear a sweater, and then what do I do? All right? So I think it's a question of saying willingness to listen, willingness to respond, and take. You must be greedy enough to take, but you can't be a glutton.
Yes.
That's a huge difference.
Yes.
The greed is not about gluttony. Greed is about eagerness to get more of important things, worthwhile things, so you can make a difference. That's how I see it now.
Yeah. And, you have always given your voice to whatever was important to you. I think you've lived your life to whatever was important. What is it that you deemed important as a young man, building your career, building your professional life? And then you came to a phase where you were putting a second career in place, where you were reinventing yourself, and you've been so fearless about it. So tell us.
Yeah. See, the definition of importance, you talked about it, the stages of life. The importance definition changes with each stage in life, right? I'll just give an example. When I was in college, importance was to get a first class.
Correct.
Right?
So true, no?
Now, I'll give you a very small incident. The role of parents, okay? Both my parents played a huge role. My father played a different role. My mother played a different role. Now, last day, 1969, April, last day my exams over, my father came home and said, how was it? I had done badly. I mean, I was a first class student all the time, but I think something went wrong. I can't even figure out. I mean, I don't want to give excuses at this stage in life. So I didn't do well in my exams. But the thing was, the home atmosphere was so comfortable. We never had fear of telling the truth with either of my parents.
Big life lesson here for all of us, isn't it?
So over dinner, my father asked, how was your exam? And I said, bad. So he was a man of precision. He said, how bad is bad? So I said, so bad that I'll either get a third class or I'll fail. So there was total stunned silence. We had our dinner. And the next morning, as he was leaving for work, so he said, what do you want to do now? Do you want to study further or you want to go to work? So I said, I want to go to work. So he said, so start applying for a job from today. I said, who will give me a job? I haven't got my results. He said, that's the point. The day the results are out, you're either a third class graduate or a failed BSc. Nobody will give you a job. You got to beat the results.
Beat the results.
Okay.
Be proactive.
Yeah. Be proactive. Okay. So he beat the results. Now, here is another catch into this. Now, we had a house baby typewriter at home, and he used to type on it, and he had told me during my school days, don't touch it. If you touch it, I'll break your fingers. Now, every time he was not at home, I used to practice it and fix it backwardly and keep it in those guarded safe carefully, right?
Yeah.
So he said, type your applications. So I started typing. So he said, how come you learn typing? So
Pakda gaya.
So I said, when you were not there, I used to take it out. And he said, see, if I told you to learn typing, you would have said typing is for typists. Because I said, don't touch it, you said you want to play with it.
Big lesson. So allow children to play.
Reverse psychology. So children will do what you say you don't do. Okay, so my father was like that. Okay. Now, let me move forward. So I typed application, and then I got a job with a management consultant called the Systems, which was in Florifontaine. Arvind Gordandas, amazing man. I got a princely salary of 50 rupees per month in the year 1969. Even by 1969 standard, 50 rupees per month was nothing. I was staying in Sion to go to Florifontaine and back, 50 rupees would be gone. Right? So I walked from his office to my father's office and said, this is what he's saying. He said, take the job.
Okay.
Right? I went to Gordandas and said, I'm taking the job. He said, fine. So then, what was my job? Mr. Gordandas was a consultant for the Walshan Number Group, and he was a systems person. He was hiring people.
Okay.
So the first job was, imagine a table like this. He would sit in that corner and interviewing. He will sit here. People come for interview, sit here, and I had to sit here. And Mr. Gordandas said, you observe these people when they come. Okay. So first interview was over. He said, so what do you think after the interview was over? So I was giving my opinion. He said, shut up. I don't want your opinion. What did you observe?
Wow.
So I said, I didn't understand your question. He said, next time, the lesson is if you don't understand something, ask for clarification. Don't assume that you understood.
Wow.
Okay. So I said, okay, now tell me, what do you want me to do? So he said, what I'm going to do is that when I'm asking questions, you jot down everything that person does. The way he responds to me, his body language, is he feeling nervous? Is he sweating? Is he shifting in his chair? All that you note down. I don't want your opinion.
Just observe.
You should be like a camera on the wall.
Ethnography.
Yeah. And at that time, there were no cameras.
Right.
So I was the human camera. After every interview, I had to tell him this. You asked him this question, he said this. You asked him that question, he did that. Right?
And this was in shorthand, you were also writing.
No, I didn't know
notes?
shorthand. So I had to write down. I didn't know shorthand. Because at that time, I didn't want to go for shorthand because shorthand was for the clerks. So that was my mental block, right?
Right.
So I had to write fast.
Wow.
I had to figure out my own shorthand.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
So I'll give an example. He will ask embarrassing questions. For instance, there was a guy who came, very head guy, management graduate, this, that, etc. And this guy said, during your college days, have you watched any pornography? Right? First question. He didn't ask him about this thing. He didn't ask for certificate. This thing. First question was this. And that guy is sweating. Right? So things like this.
Wow.
Then after the interview, he'll say, what did you happen? So I will say, sir, you asked him this question. This is what he did. This is what he said. This is how he replied. He said, yeah.
That is what he wanted to do.
That's what.
So learn by observing. If you haven't understood, ask clarificatory questions.
Yes.
And observe and record, not your opinions.
Not opinions.
But what you actually saw and heard.
Facts.
Facts, ethnography.
Yeah. So he told me then how you should separate facts, feelings, and opinions. Right? So first state your facts. Then tell me what your feelings about that are. Then give me your opinion. I will figure out what to take from it. It's like a buffet, right?
Correct.
You serve me a buffet, I choose whether to start from the dessert or from the salads.
Correct.
Right? So that is the first lesson I got from it.
And he paid you 50 rupees for that
50
class.
rupees per month.
Yes.
50 rupees per month. But huge lesson. So I went to my father's office after the first 2 interviews and he said, listen, you will not get this anywhere. You stick around as long as possible. All right? So that was my first life experience.
So what you were looking at that time, your need was to really learn. Knowledge separate from wisdom. You were really picking up that from Mr. Govardhan Das.
Beg your pardon?
Knowledge and wisdom. You got both of these through that first job.
Yes. This was the first job.
Yes.
Before the results were out.
Before the results were out.
Before the results were out. So here is the next interesting thing, right? So the results came, I passed. But all along my school days, I was a first class grade. In BSc, I got a 3rd class. But I passed. So I went. My father said, "ठीक है, you have passed, हो गया, तो pass हो गया." Then I went to the office and he said, "Result आ गया?" I said, "Yes, sir." "What happened?" He said, 3rd class. He said, "Let's go for lunch." So I think there was a very nice restaurant opposite Gaylord, I think, some major restaurant. He took us lunch. Then his wife used to come. The 3 of us went for lunch. Then he ordered lunch. He was a strict vegetarian. And at lunch, he said, I want you to understand one thing. I have no confusion in my mind between a third-rate person and a third-class graduate.
Amazing.
I suggest that you don't have that confusion. You are not a third-rate person. Okay?
Amazing.
And don't behave like an idiot. What an amazing thing.
Amazing.
Okay. This was very interesting. Then 50 rupees a month was just enough for me to pay for my bus fare. My father said, don't worry about this. We are not depending on your salary, but you're getting education for free. And he's paying you for your tea and coffee, right? You're sitting in an AC office and he's teaching you how to observe and learn from people. So this is like an MBA education. So take it as it comes. Right? But I told him that this can't go on for life. He said, I didn't ask you to do that. But let's see what the future holds for us. But don't be in a hurry. Right? When you're traveling, you don't know what is the next turn. You think the road is straight, but sooner or later it will turn. No road can ever be straight.
Wonderful.
There will be a curve. There will be an up-down. Right? You hold on. So I waited. Then I got a job in Crompton Greaves. Okay, in Pune. As a sales assistant in the lighting division. 1960, 65, 69, at 450 rupees a month. Right? So my father said, excellent, go for it. So I said, how do I manage? He said, you figure it out. So I said, what do you mean you figure it out? He said, listen, boss, 450 rupees is not a bad sum. You figure out how you're going to manage where you live, how you get your office, how much will it cost you, how much will food cost you, etc. But don't expect me to send you money. Learn to manage your money.
Great lesson, huh?
Okay? If there is an emergency, then you can bank on me. That treat me as an insurance.
Treat me as an insurance.
But I'm not going to fund you. Fantastic lesson.
Super.
Right? So I had to keep accounts. Right? Then 3 of us stayed in a room in a lodge in Jangli Maharaj Road. Okay? And then in the beginning of the month, we used to go by auto. Middle of the month, we'll go by bus. End of the month, we'll walk.
Stretching the rupee.
Yeah, stretching the rupee. And then we used to go, and then the food was served. We used to go to a Bajji who was running a mess, right? And he wanted money in advance, so he had to pay. So we had to calculate how much will be bus, how much will be balance. In the beginning of the month, occasionally we'll go to a 5-star restaurant for this thing, and baad mein roadside restaurants. So slowly, but even only for Diwali, father will give me some new clothes. Otherwise, we had to buy our own stuff. And Crompton Greaves expected us to wear ties, right? So my father said, "Don't buy anything. You use my old ties." So we did that. But what was interesting for me was that we didn't resent anything. We didn't miss anything because luckily my roommates were also like that. There was a spirit of adventure, camaraderie, and saying, "Saath mein karenge," kind of stuff. So we went through celebrations at the beginning of the month and Kadaka months in the weeks in the end of the month. But that was amazing. We learned a huge amount of lessons on that. And I must say there was a fantastic thing that happened to me in Crompton Greaves.
So those who join in late, we are having a conversation with R.Sridhar, Ideas RS, and he's telling us his lessons and journey to his inspiration, Die Empty.
Yeah. Now, I was in charge of the lighting division. Not in charge, I was a sales assistant, but essentially in charge. There was a Goa dealer who was supplied a lot of fittings and he was not paying. So my manager said, go and clear it. I said, what do you mean go and clear it? He said, go and clear it means go and get the money. I said, okay, but I've not done it before. He said, well, I've not also done it before, you go and do it. And then he said, the reason why I'm asking you to do it is because it's your job. My job is to make you do it. Okay?
He's your manager.
My manager, Aram Takkar, amazing man. Okay? Extremely passionate about his work, compassionate man, extremely strict. Okay? He said, you go and do it. I said, how? He said, you figure it out. All of us figured out our lives for ourselves. You figure out your life for yourself. So I land in Goa. So the moment I land in Goa station, okay, I thought they'll take me to the hotel. They took me to the godown where all the fittings were there. I said, yaar, mera room kahan hai? Bhai, pala ye kaam ko dekho tum. Baad mein room dekhenge. So they opened all the fittings. All the wooden crates were there. They were soaked in rain. And then they said, this is how it is looking. So how can we pay for it? Then I knew that then I had to get on to the job. I said, listen, you're saying that the cases are wet. Well, how do you know that the fittings are not working? So he said, logically, if the cases are wet, there will be a short circuit in the fitting and that's not working. So I said, that is not acceptable. So let us check. So there were 500 fittings. So he said, we have to just 500 fittings. I said, you have to pay for 500 fittings. Whatever fittings are not working, you don't pay for it. Balance, you pay for it. If 500 are not working, then I'll report it. 500 are not working. So it will give you a credit code. But if 300 are working, you pay for 300. If 200, you get a credit note. So I said, for checking 500, it will take 2 months. Then I was shocked. I said, listen, how will it take 2 months? He said, listen, I have only one electrician. And I can't spare him all the time for this. He will spend half a day on this. So then we'll have to spend that much time to check the fittings. Then I'll set up a table. And then you work with him. Then you do a report every day. At the end of the day, we'll figure out how many fittings are working, how many not working, and we'll take this. But I'm not going by any average. I'll only pay for only those fittings that are working, which are not working, we're not paying. So then I put a trunk call to my manager and said, this is what he says. He says, what he's saying is correct. Ab kaam karke aa jao. So I said, I have not come prepared for a month. He said, you can make it out, figure it out. So I had gone prepared for a week. So I told the Goa dealer, bhai, abhi kya karen? He said, don't worry. So I'll find a dhobi. Then he'll wash the clothes for you, etc. You don't have to buy new clothes. So I said, I'm a vegetarian. He said, I will arrange for food for you. I'll get home cooked for you. But you're not leaving Goa until this job is done. So we finished the entire job. Then I found out 70% of the fittings were okay, 30% were not okay. So I sent a telegram to my manager that this is it. So, so we have to give him a credit for 30%. So he'll pay for the balance 70%. So fatafat ho gaya kaam.
So you have to roll up your sleeves, get on your knees and do things.
So I didn't have to do it myself. They had the electricians. I had to tell them how to do it. And I had to take a note on every single fitting, and we had to keep aside all the fittings that were working with a tick mark, all the fittings that were not working separately. And fittings that were not working, we had to figure out whether it is only a starter, which is a small thing, which would have changed it. So we tested it. If the choke is not working, it's a problem. So in some cases, the starter was a problem. Some cases, the choke was a problem. In some cases, the wiring was rusted. So we had to itemize every single thing, right? And you have to send a report on that. And so it was a huge lesson. And then what was interesting was this man had two sides to him. On one side, he was a very tough businessman. On the other side, he was a gracious host. Come 6 o'clock, he'll close shop and they say, come, let's go to a movie. He'll send his son. I said, listen, I'm a strict vegetarian. I can't drink, I don't do this. Then no problem. So they took me to rice places, Maharashtrian places, right? They looked after me extremely well. So, how can we simultaneously tough and simultaneously gracious and nice? It's a huge lesson I learned.
Amazing. And that must have held you in good. When we were talking about radical candor, how do you challenge directly?
Yeah.
And how do you, care for personally on both the dimensions?
Absolutely.
You were strong, and you've always been you're someone who's radically candid with your teams, with your clients.
Absolutely.
And you don't regret it. And I'm sure they have grown enormously because of that.
Absolutely. But I think the thing is that I find what life has taught me is that people have responded graciously to the way I do this. Candor does not give us the license to be arrogant.
Great lesson.
Telling the truth doesn't mean, suppose I want to say somebody that, look, I have explained this to you twice, and there seems to be some problem in your ability to understand it. Is not the same thing as you're an idiot. You say you're an MBA from Harvard, ये भी नहीं समझ सकता है, is not that. Just say, listen, I tried explaining this to you twice, right? So let us go through step by step. Tell me in which step am I missing the point? See the question.
Yeah.
In which step am I missing the point? In which step are you finding it difficult to understand is not a question.
Absolutely. And that is what you said is really where the asking of questions is what you've done all your life. Prashna Rao.
Yeah, absolutely. So the classic thing is the 5W1H. Remember this?
Yes.
Who, what, when, where. Right? How and why are different. Who is a specific answer? What is a specific answer? When is a specific answer? Where is a specific answer? It can't be vague. How expands the scope of the discussion. Why expands the scope of the discussion. So if you ask why when you're supposed to be asking who, then you will confuse the issue.
Yes.
किसने ये काम किया is not the same thing. ऐसा किसा हो गया?
Yeah. So when we've done innovation workshops, the meticulous preparation that Sridhar does has always inspired me. You're a man of great preparation. Even today, when before coming, Sridhar said, I want to use the theme of the book Die Empty by Todd Henry. And I would like you to ask me things around it because that's exactly the mode of mind. I'm very inspired by that. And you've been in a mode to give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think every life stage, there are some priorities we have. There are some stages in life that you want to absorb. There are some stages in life that you want to assimilate. In some stages in life that you want to digest. And there are some stages in life just you want to give. There's nothing more to do than that. Right? So I personally feel I'm at the last stage. All right? And I mean, that's by God's design. It's got nothing to do with me or anybody else. That's how He designed His life, right? He designed the world on this basis.
Correct.
I mean, what percentage of people in the world live more than 100? If you were to even take what percentage of people live more than 75? So I now come to less than 10% now, probably, right? So as far as I am concerned, that look, this is the travel, this is the journey, right? So I have to understand that look, I am going closer to the destination, so I have to travel light.
Yes.
What happens if I get down at the destination and there is no coolie and I have to carry my baggage? I don't want baggage at that time. I just want to get down and walk away.
Amazing. What a lovely lesson. No need for a coolie. I want to just be able to carry everything myself. So Sridhar, when you went to America, there would have been over here, you were in touch with a lot of people. But I think online and Facebook, you've used social media so smartly to stay connected. You have never disconnected yourself from people. You are very candid about the fact that you thrive on people, I think, on the connections. And you also have been receiving a lot of goodwill through the give and take.
Yeah.
So talk to us about giving your voice to what matters and the human connections that you have preserved. And I think always enriched by, and you in turn enrich.
So I think it's a matter of luck.
Mm.
Okay, there is a definition for luck. Luck is preparedness meeting opportunity.
Nice.
Okay, the fact that I had parents like that is my luck. My parents are completely different from each other.
Mm.
My father was an intellectual. My mother was a people person.
Head, heart.
Yes.
You had both.
Yeah, and my father was a doer. So was my mother.
Okay.
Right? So was my elder sister. So was my elder brother. So I was a third, and I was a spoiled kid. So what happened was, when my daughter, my first was my sister. So my father had an ambition for her, saying she was the first graduate in our entire family, girl graduate. My father was only a licensed engineer. He was not a graduate. So to make her a graduate, so he sent her to Baroda to get a home science graduation.
Oh.
Okay. Then my brother was the first engineer in the family. My father was a licentiate engineer. The graduate engineer was my brother. By the time I came, my father was ready to retire. Right? And he said, "Hey, kar lega khud." Right? So when I came in, he said, "Pretty much on your own, boss. Do whatever you want to." So that's how I went to Crompton Greaves. Then I said 2 years later, Crompton Greaves was not my stuff. So I saw an ad for management trainee from Frank Simoy's advertising. I didn't know anything about advertising. But the word management trainee was like magic. In Crompton Greaves, I was a sales assistant. Crompton Greaves is a company of engineers. They will not promote me to anything worthwhile. I knew my life was not going to be there. So I applied to Frank Simoy's. My father had taught me how to write a good application. I mean, the last line in my application will be always saying, flexible, adaptable, willing to learn,
Wow.
and work hard.
4 magic words: flexible, adaptable, willing to learn, willing to work hard,
Willing to please.
and willing to please.
Yeah. So I used to end my sentences there. And all applications had to be typed in one page. Because he said the time they turn the page, there is a decision point that can occur saying, "Tika, whatever he said is fine." Then you may not read the second page. So finish all your applications in one page.
Fabulous
All right.
lessons.
Then he taught me how to frame a sentence, not more than 10 words to a sentence. Active voice versus passive voice. A passive voice sentence is longer. And every time break a sentence where you take a breath. Stop this, put a stop there. Where to put a stop, where to make a paragraph, everything. All that my dad taught me.
Communication guru, your father?
My father was an engineer, but he liked language, he loved English. And he was very precise. He would never mix up instructions. If you say sit for dinner, he will not say, "I know how about dinner, sit for dinner." I mean, he had very clear thing. He said, "You got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, no matter what." Right? If you don't get up at 6, so I'll say, if I don't get up at 6, he said, "I'm going to tell you, I'll show you tomorrow." So I said, okay. So next morning, I didn't get up at 6. He came and poured one bucket full of water on my head, on the bed. Then I had to get up, clean the place, wash the clothes, have a bath. So I said, "Tomorrow morning, do you want to do all this or you want to get up? What is sufficient?" He said, "I get up."
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
So, but when he was, he didn't do rough rods, but he would use this kind of innovative stuff.
Innovative, yes.
When pouring water on my head was not hitting me, right? He didn't use a cane.
And he was not angry doing
He
it.
was not angry.
That's important.
He poured cold water.
But he was
Hot water would have been worse, I guess. But he poured cold water. There was no way I could have slept after that. So after that, now today I get up at 4:30 in the morning, not 6.
You've always been spiritually inclined.
Yes, thanks to my mother.
And that also helped you identify life purpose, live happily, live well.
See, I think the most important thing in this thing is to get focus. I'll tell you small things. My mother, we had a small 450 square foot flat opposite Chanmukanata. In the kitchen, one corner was reserved for the puja. My mother was very devout. And we had a whole lot of gods there. And every day she will clean all the pictures. And every day we had to grind sandalwood paste and apply the sandalwood thing and then put kumkum and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and she taught me all that. And I found it very interesting because that is time away from studies. Okay, so I'll say, "Amma, I'll do it." Yeah. So she would cook and I'll go and do all this kind of stuff. This will take 45 minutes. My father watched that one day. So he told my mother, he said, "Listen, don't ask him to do it every day. You say, ask him every alternate day. I want to see what he does with that time we spent there." So next day she said, "You do it day after tomorrow." very quietly. She didn't say, don't do it today. We will do it day after tomorrow. Then I had that free time. Then I was sitting there. My father was watching me. So he said, what are you doing? So I said, oh, that is it. Maybe time to study, right? Have some homework. Have you finished it? You want some help? Right? It took me a while to understand that was a game that my parents were playing. But there was no hitting, there was no rough thing, nothing. Very gently. And there are certain times of the month where my mother was not feeling well. You know, my sister was in college, my brother was in this thing. I was the only one at home. She said, why don't you do something in the kitchen? I said, but what do? I don't know anything. She said, I'll tell you what to do. Then she showed me how to keep the thing in the pressure cooker, how to make sambar, how to make potato roast curry. And I learned cooking from her. Today I can cook reasonably well.
Oh.
Not too much, but reasonably well. But on days when she was not well, I would step in. I am very fond of making rava shira and all that kind of stuff. We learned all that kind of stuff. It's because of my mom that I learned all that. And all my thing about puja and spiritual inclination, spiritual part of the inclination came from her. The philosophical questioning part of it came from my father. But if you really see what is happening is that I was reflecting in the car. I've been a reasonably good blotting paper.
I like the word blotting paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have been absorbing things that happen naturally. And I think the best part of it now, as I'm recalling it, I'm wondering about how gently they did it. I can't, in my entire life, my father only slapped me once if I remember right. I can't remember why, but once, just once. Never. I never got beat in school, for instance. Right?
So if you were to, because we are at 37 minutes, you brought some things to show me.
Yeah, so there are just a couple of things that I want to show you. This is about, I have a book called The Checklist of Life. Can you show it to your people?
Look at this. The Checklist of Life by Lynn McPhellimy.
So this book is a working book to help you live and live this life. So I have done this. I've done a whole lot of things. I didn't fill it up here. I filled it up separately. Okay, in a separate notebook. So I know what is my checklist of life. I'm 75, okay? Maybe I'll live 25 years. Maybe I'll just live 5 months, whatever it is. But as of today, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I need to do, what is pending. In my pending list, I think there are only about 3-4 things. Okay. Very little. Okay. Then, you remember Madhukar and Farida?
Yes, Sabnavis.
When sometime in 1998, Madhukar and Farida gave me this book called Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue. An amazing book in terms of understanding the way to look at life. Okay? That's another input I got. The third one, 2 more books I have. There is another book called Manashodhanam, Swami Tejomayananda of Chinmaya Mission. Okay, now Manashodhanam is full of notes you can see. This book is about Shodhanam means purification. Impurity of mind is a cause of sorrow and agitation. Okay, now the moment you say, what is making me upset? What is making me sad? What is making me sorrowful? Cause and effect. Then the first temptation is to blame it on somebody else. No. Right? Then I say, no, that may not be true. What if it was me? Then I understand that 60% of the time the cause is me. Because I misinterpreted their action. Yes. Let's say that, I'm waiting for my coffee and the doorbell rings. So Vijay goes to the door. Does it mean that she ignores me? She doesn't ignore me, right? She has to attend to the door because there is nobody else at the door.
Yes.
Right? So that's the kind of stuff. So today, I'm really saying, listen, how will I travel light? See, the thing is that there is only so much you can carry in your hand baggage. Hand baggage weight is limited.
Yes.
Even your checked-in baggage weight is limited. Okay, otherwise, you pay excess baggage.
Yes.
I am saying, boss, I don't want excess baggage. To start with, I reduce my weight. Physical weight, my physical weight, according to my height, should be about 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7 inches or something like that. I should be about 65, 67 kgs. I'm about 68, 69 kgs, which is not bad.
Yes.
Right? I have a gluttony. I eat sweets like mad. I have one bets like 30 gulab jamuns at a time or 5 triple sundaes at a time. And I cut all that. I mean, if somebody gives you sweets, right? Even eating normal meals, I reduce quantity.
So no gluttony. No, enjoy, but you don't have to be a glutton. That's what.
Yeah. Greed is the issue.
In all aspects.
Yeah, in all aspects. Gluttony, I mean, you want to watch a movie, you want to watch movie all night. No, that's gluttony.
They have a word for it.
Yeah.
Binge.
Yeah, binge. Now, you enjoy discussing friends. I mean, all of us like gossip. I mean, it's the truth, right? Right? Intentionally and otherwise. But you can't indulge in gossip for 5 hours, 10 hours a day about everybody else. Occasionally, you can make a comment, etc. That's all right. So, I think the more mindfulness you develop, the more self-awareness we develop, I think it makes a huge difference. Now, today, I'm constantly watching other people who are happy. I'm constantly watching debates, for instance. In debates, how the Arnab Goswami attacks and how the other people respond. I learn a lot. I learn a lot from our politicians. I'm not interested in politics per se. For instance, you look at the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar. Is one of the coolest guys I've seen. Nirmala Sitharaman, one of the coolest people I've seen. She's a tough lady, right? But in a parliament, see the way they answer things, right? It's not about politics, but it's about the way they handle stuff, the way they communicate, the way they convince people, right? And the confidence that they carry. When I know Nirmala Sitharaman, her husband doesn't agree with her, and he is public about it. That's not, but they don't wash their dirty linen in public. She doesn't say a word about it. But my wife said, but why are you watching all this politics? I am saying, I'm not watching politics. I'm watching people.
So, right from the first job, Sridhar was given the task of observing people. He continues to be an astute observer and a blotting paper.
And a blotting paper and a learner.
Learner, someone who's adaptable.
Flexible, adaptable. Now, today, for instance, if I have to live my life before I leave, and I have a checklist on what all things to be done, 75% of my checklist is in place. Like a simple thing like living a will.
Yeah.
All right? So, living a will. Now, in India, for instance, there is no thing called a living will.
No.
Okay? In the US, it's possible. So, I know the difference. So, we have all that figured out. So, for instance, today in our house, we are planning to move away. So, the way I'm giving away things, my wife is giving away things, we're doing it with such happiness. Yesterday, for instance, I was drawing mandalas. Okay, my servant and her small girl came, and the girl was watching with curiosity. I said, "Acha lagta hai? Haan, chahiye? Take it." I gave her 2 books of all the coloring, entire kit. I said, "Take it," without second thought. When the book was half full, I could have done that for another 1 month or so. But I felt, I'm looking at her face, the glee in her face was worth $1 million.
Inner renunciation.
Yeah, amazing.
And what is this book?
Narayana Hitopadesha. Hitopadesa is, Hita is what is for our good. Upadesa is advice. So, Hitopadesa is about advice meant for our good. So, this book is all about advice meant for our good. Now, this book, I don't know how old it is. It's obvious that I have not read it because there are no marks on it, which means I have not hid it for the Hitopadesas for so long. So, but this is something which is priority on my list.
Hitopadesh. This is the checklist of life.
The Manas Shodhanam.
Manas Shodhanam.
And this is
Donald Walsh, I think. Neil Donald Walsh, yes. Conversations with God. I also read this many years ago.
Conversations with God.
Yes.
If there are any questions that they have, I'm very happy to answer if you have the time.
No, I think we are good. So they will watch this when it goes on air. They will watch it when it goes on air. It will go live. We'll have a preview.
Yeah.
And then people will watch. And this was the conversation. It's meant to be an idea starter for them to think about.
Okay.
I also want us to know that after Sridhar retired from Ogilvy, he was also the person who started direct marketing.
Yes.
He's the father of direct marketing. He's written a book called Unlocking Your Creativity, and he's one person who's created his own creative blockbusting toolkit.
Yeah. You have a toolkit, I think.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Right.
So these have been many.
We also created an app with it.
An app that he created. He had
for generating ideas.
Yes, an idea generation app. And every time, and then you went and got yourself certified as an ICF coach.
CFI coach.
CFI coach.
Yes.
So he's a CFI coach. So what I find fascinating, an early blogger, writing and blogging, I think pioneer blogger probably.
I don't know, but I've written more than 300 articles on LinkedIn.
More than 300 articles on LinkedIn. He's there on LinkedIn. You continue to write on LinkedIn and Facebook?
I don't write on LinkedIn anymore because I'm not really into business these days.
Okay.
But I write in Facebook. So these days I'm going a little slow on Facebook because I'm doing a lot of my own daily blogs.
Okay.
I want to take a short break.
So daily blogs, as in you type them out?
So what happens is I have blogging prompts both on this phone and another phone. In one phone, I have 200 prompts. In another phone, there are 1,000 prompts.
Okay.
So I write it on a notebook.
Okay.
I write it and tear it at the end of the day.
Why do you tear it, Sridhar?
Because it's deep and personal. Sometimes I feel that it may not be very wise for anybody else to read it.
Okay. All right.
Because, when you're completely frank and you're honest with yourself, if the other person is not able to read it and see it and understand it from your perspective, they might feel a little upset. So, in all frankness, and Vijay, of course, understands that. She never comes that side. But
so you tear it and
I just tear it into small bits and put it in the dustbin.
I want to ask one last question of you. You have always written also about life stages, being a father, now being a grandfather, and you have celebrated each of your roles as a father. As a grandfather, I saw you write about your grandsons as they were growing up, your granddaughter, and those posts, you recently wrote a post of your mother.
Correct.
And I think not just me, but there are lots of people who get so connected. They feel so connected with you through these people in your life.
Yeah.
Now, how is it to be in the US? Does it feel like you feel a little isolated because you're not interacting with people as much because of the time difference?
No, on the contrary, that's the reason why I'm writing. I'm not physically connected. I'm not meeting people one-on-one. But when people interact, and I'm connected.
Right. That is what it is.
Right?
Yes.
But that the logic or the thing is, I have to write positively so that the connections are positive and people are encouraged to talk. I don't want to get into arguments. My father once told me, win an argument, lose a friend. Yes. So I don't get into any arguments. Recently, just one small thing. I wrote something about my life in Ogilvy. Okay, how I started and this app, and so the kind of colleagues I went, how I learned from them. My note was very positive. And there is one person who said, but then you forgot about mentioning XYZ. Now, I had not done any much work with him, although I know him very well. Then I stopped it.
Okay.
The moment there is a controversy comes, I run away from it. Not because I'm afraid, because if I have a point of view and I say the truth, and if it is going to hurt the person, it's not worth my time, not worth my while anymore.
So it might just become baggage that for Sridhar to carry, which he doesn't want to carry.
I want to travel light.
Yes. So he said there are 4 things that you have left to do. What are those 4 things you want to share?
The 4 things are: make sure that I have no pending things in my list.
Okay.
Right? And I have the list is clear. The list is clear with me. With my wife, for instance, we are clearing a house here. All my official books and all that. You said somebody is interested. I think out of 100%, close to 80% has gone.
Okay.
Yeah, people have come and taken it.
Okay.
All the official books, business books and all that have gone. My toolkit, one toolkit was there, and one person has taken it and he's going to do something with it. And I said, take it.
All right.
Fine. So my books about Advaita and philosophy, etc., a few books we are taking. My puja room, I'm looking at all the pictures. Then I'm saying, do I need all the pictures to take back to US? There'll be a few pictures, which is very important, which has been given by my parents, my guru. I'll take them.
Okay.
So I'll keep them. All right. And as of now, I am only living one day at a time.
That's again sage advice, living one day at a time.
Yeah. So there is a very interesting prayer I read some time ago, which has been written by my guru. The prayer is, in the very last minute, as I'm leaving, please grace me with the presence of mind to think about your name.
Yes.
And think about your feet. And not about the electric bill. Not about whether there is the gas bandwa ke nahi. Not that. Now, that is not going to happen if you don't have a continuous habit of thinking about the Lord.
Yes.
Right? Now, it's not possible to think about the Lord continuously. But I'm increasing if I were to take my average day, 24 hours a day, I sleep for not 8 hours, I sleep for 6 hours. Right? Then 3 hours every day I meditate. 3 hours in the morning. Then 2.5 hours I do puja for my guru. Right? Then I spend time with family. That kind of stuff. And then I also now decided what are the kind of things that I will see, what are the kind of things. So what are the inputs that go, which will not vitiate my thinking. So even in Netflix, I'll only watch certain kind of films and not certain other kind of films.
Yeah.
I love Hindi films. I love masala films. I love Amitabh Bachchan. I love Dharmendra. I love Vinod Khanna. But I don't go for the gross kind of stuff. Right? And earlier on, I used to say, see the entire film. If I don't like it, I just cut it and go away out. And meals are very, very clear how much I will eat and what I will eat. And I never was a non-vegetarian. I used to have cakes with eggs and all that I stopped. So I have very little food in the morning. I'd stop drinking coffee and tea because that affects my sleep. I only have hot water. Milk is the problem for me because of what's that called? The milk part of it is affecting me. Okay, that doesn't suit me, so I don't have milk at all. Ice creams I'm very fond of. I used to have 5 triple Sunday ice creams and win a bet and all that, but today I just take one small cup or something if I afford it. Otherwise, I don't. So part of the learning process is that if you eat in a South Indian wedding, my father taught me saying, don't ask for a second serving.
Yeah. We had the privilege of eating at Pavitra's wedding. So I remember the Ahobila Mutt, the sitting and the South Indian wedding. But no asking for second helpings is great advice.
So don't waste food, don't ask for second person. So even at home now, Viji now knows that, in a spoon, she'll only serve me half a spoon. If I want it, it will be kept on the table, I can take it. Otherwise, if I don't take it, I don't take it. Nobody asks me, so it's not good or what? Why are you not taking it? I mean, the fact that I don't take it does not mean the food is bad.
assumptions. We don't need to make the assumptions.
Yeah, you don't make a conclusion and make the other person guilty. So there are small things I observe, and as a result, when I walk in the street, for instance, when I came in, the way they greeted me, what happened at the gate, every single thing I noticed, the way the guy who brought me here, on the way I was asking him some questions, then I suddenly understood that I was distracting him and said, "Then
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So being observant, being curious, I always used to find Sridhar one of the most, a very good listener. Very good, very observant, very good listener. Ask precise questions. I think you took that from your father. Precise questions. Prepare. That's one of the things I've picked up from you.
Listen with the head and the heart.
Listen to understand, not listen to respond.
Correct. Absolutely. Listen to understand. And not listen to respond, not listen to argue, not listen to win.
Also trust.
Absolutely.
There was a presentation that the client was asking us to come down to Indore to make. And I remember that evening I called Sridhar and I say, Sridhar, do you think it's safe to go to their home to make the presentation? They're asking us to come down because he is unwell. The client is unwell. And do you think it's okay for me to travel and go to their home? Sridhar said, yes, you can just go ahead. And I went to Indore, I presented. We still work with that client.
Yes.
Thanks to Sridhar. We still work with that client, and that's probably 2 decades ago.
Yeah. In fact, do you remember this book called Trusted Advisor by David Meister?
I haven't read that.
You haven't read that book?
No. Trusted Advisor.
Trusted Advisor by David Meister.
By David Meister. Okay, so that's on my book list.
Let me see if I have that book. If I don't, if I have it, I'll give it to you.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll send you the title.
Please.
Amazing book. In fact, I was in a training program where David Meister came. I was running Ogilvy Consulting, and David Meister came to this thing. He said, if you want to be a consultant, the most important thing you must do is to earn the trust of your client. Earn the trust of your client. Earn.
Yes,
so you have to be a trusted advisor. Why the hell should he pay you money if he can't trust you as a person? Why should he trust your advice?
Fabulous. I think every moment we talk to Sridhar, Milind and I have always taken away something amazing. He's also someone who's, Sridhar, when you were preparing to do the app, the ability to embrace technology, really move out of your comfort zone. You do that with a lot of grace. You are moving out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You challenge yourself. Building that app was not easy. Trying fearlessly.
Yeah. See, it was a fantastic app. The thing is that I made an assumption. Now, I'm an iOS user. I'm an Apple user, right? So I created an app for Apple. But India is not an iOS market. Fantastic app. It's called Tickle Me Think.
Yes. Tickle Me Think.
Tickle Me Think. It's a fantastic app. Okay. Now.
You have it on Amazon.
No, it's not available now anymore.
Okay.
It failed, right? Now, after that, to make it in this thing, Android, Tickle Me Think cost me 1 lakh. And extra for design with Landauer.
Yes.
Very, very beautifully done. Now, the moment I understood that, it has to be an Android and I wanted to create it, the cost would have been 4 lakhs. And I didn't want to spend that money. But I lost the opportunity. Now, yesterday also somebody came and said, can you hand over the design? I said, listen, I'll hand over the concept. I don't have a design. What about the codes and all that? So all that is gone. If you come and tell me, I'll give you a toolkit. One copy was there. I gave him the toolkit. And I'll tell you how to use it. The book is there, and then you do it and take it. Right? He said, what about credit line? I said, you don't want to give me any credit line. If your customers use it and then they are happy and you're happy, then that is a credit line. You don't tell me that created by R.Sridhar, whose father was Ramanathan.
So thank you very much for watching. We've done an hour of a wonderful conversation with a man who, for the last 25 years, I've had the personal privilege of knowing, learning from, working with, and I think earning the trust of.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Sridhar.
Thank you.
So
Bye,
beautiful.
folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks
Thank you.
very
Bye.
much. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.
Bye.